Hello, welcome. So we'll just take a few moments here to get settled and set up. I'm Kristin Sutter. Um, welcome. Um, we'll practice some trauma-centered, trauma-sensitive yoga today, and we'll welcome the day with some sun salutations, which are traditional sequence of yoga forms designed to greet the sun, wake up our bodies, and get us moving for the day. So I just wanted to start today by taking some time to get settled in. I'm getting settled in myself. Thanks for your patience. We had some fun getting our tech setups to get this working today. So as you're getting ready for our session, you might consider, like, if you have a yoga mat, that's fantastic. You might find a space for your yoga mat. If you don't have a yoga mat, no worries. Feel free to, like, sometimes like a beach towel or just like a blanket on the floor can be nice. Carpeted flooring is fine. You don't need a towel or a blanket at all if your carpet is comfy. Some people like to have like a folded blanket handy. That can be useful for if you'd like something a little more cushioned to sit on or a little more cushioned to kneel on during some of the yoga forms we might try today. I also have a chair here. I'm gonna use both the chair and the floor today to show different ways to do the same shapes. So I'm just gonna take a second to set up my chair here. So you can kind of see some different ways to do the same shapes today. And if you're choosing a chair that you want to use, you might go for one that's a little bit more like sturdy, without wheels. Something with wheels might just be a little harder to feel stable on, and anything that's cushier, it just might be a little bit harder to notice like your own body moving on it, since the chair will kind of absorb some of that cushion. So if you'd like to practice on a chair, if you're able to find one that's a little bit kind of firmer and without wheels, that might be optimal, but we can make it work with whatever we have. So once again, thank you so much for joining. Feel free to take some time to set up your space. I'll just talk through a little bit more about what's happening right now or for today. So you may notice in our comment section, Malia Chow, she is like the healer in residence at HIR Wellness Institute. And she's a community healer at HIR Wellness Institute, and she's very graciously helping with like support our session today. So you'll see her in the comments section. So hi Malia, thank you so much for being here to help with everything. With Malia is really a veteran of working with the Facebook Lives, and I'm newer to it, so I really appreciate her being here and having that support. And then throughout the session today, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section. Malia will be in there to answer any questions you might have about HIR Wellness Institute. If you do have any questions about the kind of yoga that we're going to practice, feel free to put those in there, and I'll try to watch that closely as well. And if you also have if you'd like to talk with a mental health professional at any point during our session today, Malia can help connect you with a mental health professional as well. If there's anything coming up for you that you'd like to talk through with someone who's a trained mental health professional. So welcome again. Feel free to take some time to grab your whatever you want for yoga practice, like a mat or a towel or a blanket or your chair. Feel free to grab some tea, water, coffee, whatever you'd like. So I thought we might start today with a very quick kind of grounding practice, a movement practice, and then maybe talking a little bit about what TCTSY is, and what and what sun salutations are, and how those things are interconnected. And before I get too far here, I wanted to just read a really important message from HIR Wellness Center. So once again, welcome. Greetings to each and every one of you joining us on our Facebook Live for the 4th annual CAM Red Sands event. We hope you're all staying at home and staying safe during the pandemic. We wanted to acknowledge that in Milwaukee, we're on traditional Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee homeland along the southwest shores of Michigamme, North America's largest system of freshwater lakes, where the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Kinnickinnic rivers meet, and the people of Wisconsin's sovereign Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Oneida, and Mohican nations remain present. At present, there are 573 federally recognized American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages with government-to-government relationships with the United States. The citizens of these nations are also citizens of the United States, and their languages, cultures, and histories are a part of our shared story. Land acknowledgements help us to remember these nations and the ancestors who were stewards of the places where we live. HIR Wellness Institute was envisioned, founded, and brought to fruition by our CEO and founder, Leah Denny. We are beyond blessed to offer all of our services because of her leadership and a generous grant from the Office for Victims of Crime. CAM stands for Community Activated Medicine, and the idea is that the people are the medicine. So we promote practice-based, culturally rooted, and community-centered services, and the material provided here is for informational purposes only. The wellness and/or nutritional information shared here is not intended to be a substitute for direct care, professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. So for our full disclaimer, feel free to check out our main Facebook page in the About section under the Impressum link. So we have a full docket of events for today, and we wanted to start it off in a good way. So Malia Chow, the HIR Wellness Institute community healer and advocate, has led us with her Indigenous cultural ways at 6 a.m. And if you're interested in watching that video, the recording is available on the main Facebook page. So definitely check that out if you weren't able to be up at 6 a.m. to be with that session. So once again, thank you for joining. So maybe we could start with a little bit of movement just to ground all of us. And I'm going to just kind of move back a little bit so everyone can see me, and then I might move forward to talk a little bit more. So I'm going to head to my yoga mat. And for this practice, feel free to either sit on the floor or you might sit on a chair. And as you're sitting, feel free to sit in whatever way works for you. So you might have your legs crossed if you're on the floor, or you might sit with one foot out or both feet out. So how you sit is your choice. If you're on the chair, you might sit with your feet resting on the floor. It's your choice here if you'd like to rest your palms down or your palms up. As you're here, maybe noticing where your body is in contact with the floor. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. And if you'd like, we might bring some movement into our shoulders. So one way to do that might be to bring both of your shoulders up at the same time and down at the same time. So maybe bringing both of your shoulders up at the same time and down at the same time. Another option for movement might be to bring one shoulder up and down, and then the other shoulder up and down. So it's your choice how you'd like to move your shoulders here. As you're moving your shoulders, you might notice sensation in your shoulders. You might notice sensation at the base of your neck. And then whenever you're ready, maybe we could meet with our shoulders in stillness. In your own time, coming back to a neutral sitting shape. From here, I thought we might explore some neck movement. So one way to do that might be to bring your chin to your torso. When you're ready, maybe moving your right ear toward your right shoulder. In your own time, maybe bringing your chin back to your torso. And if you'd like, maybe moving your left ear to your left shoulder. So as we explore movement in your neck for a few rounds, it's your choice if you'd like to continually move side to side here, or you might choose to hang out on one side for a while before eventually moving your other ear to your other shoulder. So as you're exploring some movement in your neck here, you might notice sensation along the sides of your neck or the back of your neck, depending on what shape you're choosing. And then whenever you're ready, maybe we could meet back in neutral. So in your own time, maybe bringing your neck back in line with your spine. And then from here, I thought we might try a twist. So I'm just gonna adjust my chair here quick. So if you'd like to try a twist, one way to do that might be to rotate your torso toward the right. It's your choice how far you wanna rotate your torso. And then when you've rotated as far as you want, you might bring your hands to the floor. Or if it works for you, you might take your left hand to the outside of your right leg. If you're on the chair, same idea. You might rest your left hand on the outside of your right leg, and then it's your choice on the chair if you'd like to rest your left hand or your right hand on the seat of the chair, or you might bring your back hand to the top of the chair. So as you're rotating toward the right, if you'd like, you might lengthen your spine if that feels useful or interesting to you. And as you're here, you might notice sensation across the top of your shoulders. Maybe noticing sensation in your outer ribs. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. Whenever you're ready, maybe rotating your torso back to the center. And if you'd like to try rotating to the other side, whenever you're ready, maybe rotating your torso to the left. When you've rotated as far as you want, feel free to bring your hands either to the floor if you're on the floor, or you might take your left hand to the outside of your right leg, your right hand to the outside of your left leg. And then maybe placing your left hand at the seat of your chair or the back of your chair if you're sitting on the chair. So it's your choice where you place your hands in this shape. You can always make a different choice at any time for any reason. If you'd like, you might lengthen your spine. And as you rotate your torso toward the left, the range of motion is your choice. So here you might notice sensation in your lower back, maybe noticing sensation along the back of your right arm, maybe noticing if your breath is moving. Whenever you're ready, maybe unwinding, coming back to the center. And from here, if you'd like, you might bring your hands toward the ceiling, maybe reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. And when you're ready, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. So now that we've done a little bit of a grounding practice, I thought we might just talk a little bit about what this style of yoga is, and why we do what we do here, and then just a really little bit about what sun salutations are, the way that how we greet the sun with that yoga form, that series of yoga forms. And then I thought we'd get back into the movement. So once again, I'm Kristin Sutter, and I teach a style of yoga called Trauma Center, Trauma Sensitive Yoga. The Trauma Center is a center in Massachusetts that was founded by an internationally recognized trauma researcher to really address the kinds of trauma that happen in relationships. So when we talk about this kind of trauma, often you might hear the term like PTSD, and PTSD is a traumatic experience that might happen like once. And that's something, if you can imagine, maybe like a car accident. So it's a traumatic experience that is undoubtedly traumatic, but it maybe happens once. And then this kind of trauma is called complex trauma, and it's the kind of trauma that happens over time, and it happens in relationships. So this is more the kind of trauma that comes from like abuse, assault, or neglect. And the way that our brains and our bodies adapt to those different kinds of trauma is different. So when we experience the kind of trauma that happens in relationships, our brains and our bodies adapt in a way that is really brilliant, and that it helps us survive, but it can also make it hard to just function day to day. We might have a hard time being present because our minds might be sort of ruminating about things that have happened in the past, or we might be really hyper vigilant about what might happen in the future. It can also make it hard for us to feel safe in our bodies, and it might make it hard for us to have close, healthy relationships with other people. So in TCTSY, that's short for Trauma Center, Trauma Sensitive Yoga, we practice a few key things in order to help our brains and our bodies kind of connect to each other and kind of address some of those adaptations that happen when we experience complex trauma. So one of the key things we practice is making choices. And you might have noticed me saying, like, it's your choice what you want to try in this shape. The reason we do that is because complex trauma or trauma in a relationship can often maybe be an experience of feeling like we have no choice in what happens to us. We can start to learn that there's nothing we can do about what's happening, and that can be really traumatic, that can be really harmful. So in this style of yoga, everything we practice is your choice, and that can help our brain start to connect with, like, I have a choice in what happens to me, and it's my choice to make about what happens with my body. So that's one key thing that we practice. Another thing that we practice, and you may have heard me say, like, you might notice a sensation in this shape. You might notice some sensation in the side of your neck, or you might notice some sensation in your lower back. The reason we practice noticing body sensation in this style of yoga is two kind of really cool things. One, as we start to notice sensation in our body, it can be a way for us to come back into our body at a pace that feels safe. Often what happens when we experience trauma is that we can cope by dissociating or completely disconnecting from our body. And that can make it really hard for us to know what's going on for us, both physically and emotionally. Like, it can be hard to know if we're hungry or we're tired. It can be hard to know if we're feeling anxious or happy. So when we start to notice body sensation, that body sensation can be like, okay, I'm starting to notice a feeling. And we just kind of start there, like, am I feeling anything? And then after time, you might start to be able to understand, like, oh, yes, I'm feeling something, and maybe it's a stretch, or maybe it's pain, or maybe it's like a softening of muscles. We also as we start to notice body sensation, that's really closely linked with emotions. Like, if you can imagine, sometimes when we're anxious, we say, like, there's tightness in my chest. Or if we're happy, that might feel like sort of fluttering in our chest. So once we start to notice body sensation, we can also start to notice maybe some emotions, and our body kind of cues our emotional state, like, through our physical sensations. So we can start to build this awareness of what's going on for us, both physically and mentally and emotionally, as we start to notice our body sensations. So those are the two really key reasons. We just start to notice, like, if we're feeling anything, so we can maybe develop a sense of awareness around our own physical and emotional states. And if we're really used to dissociating or feeling like our body isn't a safe place to be, starting to notice body sensation at your own pace can kind of help help you develop that relationship with your body, so where your body might start to feel safe again at your own pace. So there's more to the practice than that, but that's a really basic intro. If you have any questions about that at all, feel free to place them in the comments. There's like a few here, and I'm just looking through this really quick to see if there's anything coming up. Great to know. It's great to see some thoughts there. Thank you for sharing. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in there. I'll be checking in there in the comment section. And like I said, if anything is coming up for you as we're physically practicing, you feel free to put a message in there if you'd like a mental health professional to contact you to talk through with anything. As we transition into some more movement, I just wanted to really briefly explain sun salutations. So yoga, the practice of yoga, comes from a very, very ancient tradition out of both like Hindu religion and Buddhist spirituality, and like many practices that happen develop over thousands of years. There's very many different schools of thought that contributed to what we now understand as the practice of yoga. The practice of yoga is not just the physical movement. In the West, we often know yoga as like these yoga forms that we practice, but it's actually an entire system of kind of philosophy, with the movement being one part of that. There's ideas about right relationships to ourselves, to each other, to the world. There's philosophies about how we belong in the world, and as an interconnected, everything is interconnected. There's ideas about just kind of best practices for living, about how to live a like a healthy, connected, in a life in tune with spirituality and in tune with nature and with being in right relationship with everything. So there's like a super really basic overview of yoga and the yogic system. And then in the actual movement practice of yoga kind of can translate to the concept of like linking breath and movement. So the sun salutations are a series of movements meant to sort of help us greet the day, help us warm up our bodies, and get ready for the day. And I'll show the different yoga forms that make up the sun salutation, and then we'll practice the series of movement kind of all at once. So we might do a few yoga forms just to kind of warm up a bit before we get into everything. And so we'll just kind of explore here. At any point, you're always welcome to either just take a break from practicing. It's super common for people to kind of just sit on their mat or lay on their mat. You don't feel like you have to always do what I'm doing. If there's something, a yoga form that I'm offering, and you know a different way that you like to practice that same form, go for it. Or if any movement that I'm offering just doesn't really work for you today, feel free to adapt any movement to what you're interested in trying out. So with that, we'll get started. I'm gonna head back to my mat again. And yeah, feel free to either come to sitting on your chair if you want to use a chair, or you might come to your hands and knees on your mat, and I'll walk us through both those options. So for this first shape I'm thinking of, I'll show us how to practice on the mat first, and then I'll switch to the chair. I'm just going to turn the chair to the side here because I think it'll be easier to see. So maybe we can meet on our hands and knees if you're going to practice on the floor. And from here, if you'd like, you might bring your chin and your sitting bones toward the ceiling. When you're ready, maybe bringing your chin to your torso and rounding your spine. So maybe we'll alternate between these two shapes for a few rounds. Moving between bringing your chin and your sitting bones to the ceiling. And when you're ready, bringing your chin to your torso, maybe rounding your spine. So if you're on the mat, feel free to continue moving between those shapes. I'm going to show the same idea on the chair. So if you're trying out chair yoga today, for the same shape, you might bring your hands to your knees. As you're ready here, maybe lifting your chin toward the ceiling and rounding your shoulders back. When you're ready, maybe bringing your chin to your torso, maybe rounding your shoulders and your spine forward. So whether you're on the mat or you're on the chair, maybe we could continue moving between these shapes, alternating between lifting your chin toward the ceiling, and then maybe rounding your chin to your torso, rounding your shoulders and your spine forward. So as you're moving here, you might notice sensation between your shoulder blades, maybe noticing sensation in your lower back, maybe noticing if your breath is moving. And then whenever you're ready, maybe we could meet with our spines back in neutral. So in your own time, maybe coming back to a neutral spine. And then from here, I'll show the next form on the mat and then on the chair. So from here, maybe stepping your right foot back, and it's your choice how far you step your right foot back. And you might explore here with your right toes on the mat. It's your choice if you'd like to keep your leg muscles kind of neutral, or if you'd like, you might reach your right heel toward the wall behind you. So maybe exploring with your leg muscles kind of in neutral, or you might press your right heel toward the wall behind you. If you do that, if you do press your heel toward the wall, you might notice some muscle activation. If you're on the chair, you want to try the same thing. Maybe stepping your right foot forward. And my space is a little tiny here. So maybe stepping your right foot forward, maybe flexing your right toes toward your head. So same idea, maybe stepping your right foot forward, maybe bringing your right heel to the floor and flexing your right toes toward your head. And then if you'd like to try this on the other side, bringing your right knee back to the floor if you're on the floor, or if you're sitting on the chair, bringing your right foot back to the floor. So kind of coming back to hands and knees if you're on the mat. And then we could try the same thing with our left legs. So when you're ready, maybe stepping your left leg back if you're on the floor, or if you're sitting on the chair, stepping your left foot forward and resting your left heel on the floor. So if you're sitting, maybe stepping your left foot forward with your heel on the floor. And if you're on the mat, maybe stepping your left leg back. So maybe noticing sensation here along the back of your left leg. You might notice some sensation in your left calf muscle. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. For the next shape, when you're ready, bringing your left knee back to the center, coming back to your hands and knees. If you're sitting on the chair, feel free to bring your left foot back to the floor. So for this next shape, we'll make our way up to standing. So if you're on the mat here, I'll show you how we can come up to standing. And if you're on the chair, feel free to come up to standing in whatever way you like. As we come into these shapes for the sun salutations, doing any standing shapes on the mat can sometimes be a little grippier if you're barefoot. So if you'd like, if you have socks on, you might take your socks off. That's totally optional. But now might be a good time to take your socks off if you plan to. So if you're on the mat, when you're ready, maybe tucking your toes here. If you'd like, you might walk your hands toward your knees. When you're ready, lifting your sitting bones toward the ceiling and walking your hands toward your feet. In this shape, it's your choice how much you bend your knees, and it's your choice how far forward you fold your torso. So your choice how much you bend your knees, and it's your choice how far you fold. When you're ready here, maybe lifting your torso halfway, whatever halfway is for you. In your own time, folding again. And as you're ready, maybe bending your knees, sitting back like you're gonna sit into a chair. And as you're ready, bringing your hands toward the ceiling. Maybe reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. And when you're ready, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. And I'm just gonna double check if you can see me. Malia, would you be able to tell me, can you see me when I'm standing over here? I'm kind of moving my arms here. think you can. My screen is a little reversed, so I was just making sure. If you can't see me, please let me know. Okay, so now that we're all up to standing, if you've been sitting, you might come to standing behind your chair. And then we'll walk through this together. So if you're standing behind the chair, you might do some measuring right now. So you might take your hands to the back of your chair. You might kind of walk back as far as your arms are long. So you might like walk back until your arms are straight. And then if you're not using the chair, you might come to standing toward the top of your mat. So for everyone, no matter what version you're doing here, when you're ready, you might bring your hands toward the ceiling. Excuse me. When you're ready, maybe bending your knees and bringing your hands to the back of the chair or to your legs. Excuse me. As you're ready, bending your knees and sitting back like you're going to sit into a chair. And then it's your choice here how far you fold your torso forward. So if you're using the chair, you might keep your hands on the back of the chair. If you're not using the chair, you might bring your hands to your legs or to the floor. No matter what you choose here, how much you bend your knees is your choice. When you're ready, maybe lifting your torso halfway, whatever halfway is for you. In your own time, folding again. And then as you're ready, bending your knees, sitting back like you're gonna sit into a chair. In your own time, making your way up to standing. Maybe reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. And when you're ready, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. As you come to standing, maybe noticing where your feet are in contact with the floor. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. Excuse me. I'm just gonna get a cough drop here. Thank you so much for acknowledging you can see. I having some fun with my camera angles. So I'm recovering from a very benign cold. And excuse me, I'm in my attic, so it's a little dusty up here. So thank you for your patience as I get a cough drop here and a tissue. All right, so as we come into this next shape, the next shape in our sun salutation, we might first come through this forward fold again, just to keep warming up here. Excuse me. So when you're ready, maybe coming to stand either behind your chair or toward the top of your mat. In your own time, bringing your hands to the ceiling. When you're ready, bending your knees, sitting back, coming into your version of a forward fold. So you might bring your hands to your chair. If you're not using the chair, you might bring your hands to your legs or toward the floor. When you're ready, maybe lifting your torso halfway, whatever halfway is for you. In your own time, maybe folding again. Here, you might notice sensation along the back of your legs. Maybe noticing sensation along your spine. When you're ready, maybe bending your knees, sitting back, and making your way back up to standing. If you'd like, reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. When you're ready, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. So maybe we'll try one more fold and then we'll move into the next shape in the sequence. So when you're ready, bringing your hands to the ceiling. In your own time, bending your knees, sitting back, coming into your version of a forward fold. When you're ready, lifting halfway, whatever halfway is for you. In your own time, folding again. As you're ready, bending your knees, sitting back, and making your way up to standing. Maybe reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. When you're ready, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. So the next shape in the sun salutations sequence, if you're standing, you might bring your hands to the back of your chair, maybe walking your feet back. It's your choice here how far back you want to walk. So you can have your arms as straight as you like. Maybe bringing your feet under your hips. And you might hang out here with your knees bent if that's useful. If you're practicing on the floor, the next shape will come through a fold first, and then we'll come into that next shape. So if you're practicing on the chair, feel free to walk back as far as you'd like and hang out. If you're practicing on the floor, maybe bringing your hands to the ceiling. When you're ready, bending your knees, sitting back, coming into your version of a forward fold. When you're ready, lifting halfway. In your own time, folding again, and instead of standing up, maybe bringing your hands to the mat. You might take your right hand on the outside of your right foot and your left hand on the outside of your left foot. When you're ready, stepping your right foot back and your left foot back. If it works for you, you might bring your hands over, your shoulders over your wrists. And then it's your choice if you'd like to lift your knees toward the ceiling, or you might bring your knees to the mat. So maybe lifting your knees toward the ceiling or bringing your knees to the mat. When you're ready from here, maybe bending your elbows to bring your torso to the floor, maybe untucking your toes. From here, you might bring your shoulders to your ears, maybe rolling your shoulder blades flat on your back. And it's your choice if you want to explore here with your spine straight, or you might lift your sternum to curve your spine upward. So it's your choice, maybe exploring with your spine straight, or you might lift your sternum to curve your spine upward. So feel free to explore on the floor in that shape for a second, and I'll share what the next shape is if you're standing. So if you're like this in standing, when you're ready here, maybe lifting your sternum here, maybe lifting your chin toward the ceiling. Might notice some sensation as you curve your spine upward. When you're ready, we can all meet with our spines in neutral. So maybe bringing your spine back to a straight spine. And then if you'd like, if you're standing here, you might start to walk your arms down the chair a little bit, coming into a bit of a V shape here. If you're on the mat, the next step might be to tuck your toes. As you're ready, coming back to your hands and knees. And then in your own time, bringing your sitting bones toward the ceiling. It's your choice here how much you bend your knees. So you might keep a big bend in your knees, or you might kind of straighten your legs a bit. And then it's your choice if you'd like to sink your heels toward the floor. Whenever you're ready, walking your feet to meet your hands. And this goes for if you're practicing with the chair, feel free to walk your feet toward your hands. When you're ready, lifting halfway. In your own time, folding again. As you're ready, bending your knees, sitting back, making your way back up to standing. If you'd like, reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. When you're ready, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. Maybe noticing where your feet are in contact with the floor. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. So that was a full sun salutation. So all the shapes we did make up the sun salutation, and I'm just gonna check to see if there's any notes here. Thank you so much, Malia, for the notes. Thank you. Yeah. It's all right. So we have a few moments left. I thought we'd combine these. We can maybe get through one or two sun salutations here. So the first time, I'm gonna follow the mat practice. So if you're on the floor, if you're using your mat, I'll walk us through that. The second time I'll show the chair. So when you're ready, maybe we could meet in standing. If you'd like, bringing your hands to the ceiling. When you're ready, maybe bending your knees, sitting back, coming into your version of a forward fold. So how far you fold is your choice, and it's your choice how much you bend your knees. When you're ready, maybe lifting halfway, whatever halfway is for you. In your own time, folding again. And as you're ready here, maybe anchoring your hands to the mat. If you'd like, stepping your right foot back and then your left foot back. If it works for you, bringing your shoulders over your wrists. And it's your choice if you'd like to lift your knees toward the ceiling, or you might bring your knees to the mat. So maybe lifting your knees to the ceiling or bringing your knees to the mat. When you're ready, untucking your toes, maybe bending your elbows to bring your torso to the floor. If you'd like, you might shrug your shoulders to your ears, maybe rolling your shoulder blades flat on your back. And then it's your choice if you'd like to explore here just like this with a straight spine. Or you might lift your sternum to curve your spine upward. Maybe noticing sensation here in your lower back. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. When you're ready, maybe we could meet with our torsos back on the mat. Spines back in neutral. From here, maybe tucking your toes and making your way back to your hands and knees. In your own time, maybe bringing your sitting bones toward the ceiling. It's your choice how much you bend your knees here. And it's your choice if you'd like to sink your heels toward the floor. Maybe noticing sensation along the back of your legs here. Maybe noticing sensation in your shoulders. When you're ready, walking your feet to meet your hands, coming back into your version of a forward fold. When you're ready, maybe lifting halfway, whatever halfway is for you. In your own time, folding again. As you're ready, bending your knees, sitting back, and making your way up to standing. If you'd like, reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. And when you're ready, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. From here, as we come into the next round, I'll walk us through the chair version. Excuse me. So if you'd like to try this again, feel free to continue either with the floor version or the chair version. I'm just gonna show us the chair version, but if you want to do the floor version, please feel free to keep going. So when you're ready, maybe measuring your arm lengths distant from the back of the chair. In your own time, bringing your hands to the ceiling. When you're ready, sitting back, bringing your hands to the back of the chair, coming into your version of a forward fold. So it's your choice how much you bend your knees here, and it's your choice how far you fold forward. When you're ready, lifting your torso halfway, whatever halfway is for you. In your own time, folding again. Maybe noticing sensation here along the back of your legs. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. When you're ready, bringing your spine back to kind of parallel with the floor, and maybe walking your feet back. It's your choice how far you walk your feet back, and your choice how straight you bring your arms. So in this shape, you might notice sensation along your arms, maybe noticing sensation in your lower back. If you're practicing on the mat, here's where you might have your shoulders over your wrists, and it'll be your choice if your knees are up toward the ceiling or if your knees are on the floor. If you're on the floor, when you're ready, bending your elbows to bring your torso to the mat. And then if you'd like, you might shrug your shoulders to your ears, maybe rolling your shoulder blades flat on your back. And then for both of us, no matter whether we're on the floor or using the chair, you might explore here with your spine straight, or you might lift your sternum to curve your spine upward. Feel free to keep as much of a bend in your knees as you'd like as you're exploring with the chair here. Maybe noticing sensation across your lower back or your upper back. When you're ready, bringing your spine back to neutral. And then if you're on the floor, you might come to your hands and knees. When you're ready, bending your knees and lifting your sitting bones toward the ceiling. If you're on the chair here, you might walk your hands down the sides of the chair to come into a bit of a V shape. Feel free to keep as much of a bend in your knees as you'd like. Maybe noticing sensation along your arms. Maybe noticing sensation along your ribs. Maybe noticing sensation along the back of your legs. Whenever you're ready, bringing your hands back to the top of your chair, and if you'd like, walking your feet to meet your hands. If you're on the floor, walking your feet to meet your hands, coming back into your version of a forward fold. Keeping as much of a bend in your knees as you'd like. When you're ready, lifting halfway, whatever halfway is for you. In your own time, folding again. When you're ready, bending your knees, sitting back, and making your way up to standing. If you'd like, reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. And when you're ready, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. Maybe noticing where your feet are in contact with the floor. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. From here, we have just a couple minutes to make our way into a resting sequence, which it's traditional at the end of each yoga session to come into a resting shape. So some people like to rest laying down on the mat. Some people like to rest sitting up. So feel free to choose whatever shape you would like to rest in. So maybe laying down on your mat, or maybe sitting up on your mat, or you might sit in your chair. If you choose to sit in your chair, feel free to sit all the way back if that feels useful or supportive to you. Here, you might notice where your body is in contact with any surfaces that are supporting you. If you'd like, you might take a breath into the lowest part of your abdomen, and whenever you're ready, exhaling. Maybe taking a breath into the space below your ribs. Whenever you're ready, exhaling. If you'd like, taking a breath into the space around your heart. Whenever you're ready, exhaling. Maybe resting your tongue on the bottom of your mouth. If you'd like, you might allow the skin on your forehead and your jaw to soften toward the floor. Maybe allowing your eyes to soften and your inner ears to soften. So we'll rest quietly here for just a few moments. You can always adjust at any time for any reason. And in just a few moments, I'll guide us out. Whenever you're ready, bringing small movements into your fingers and toes. Maybe rotating your wrists and your ankles. And if there's any way of moving that feels left unfinished, feel free to move in any way you'd like right now. Any kind of waking up stretch. In your own time, maybe making your way to sitting. If you're not there already, going at your own pace, coming to sit in whatever way feels restful for you. If you'd like, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. And at the end of each yoga session, it's traditional to say namaste, which is Sanskrit, and it translates to the awareness in me sees and honors the awareness in you. So if you'd like to join me in gratitude for our practice together today, namaste. Thank you all very much for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section. I'll hang out for just a few moments here, and then please know, like, there's an opening ceremony starting right now. It started 2 minutes ago in the virtual atrium. So to get there, if you go to the HIR Wellness Facebook page and click on the link that comes up when you look at the map. So it's a bit.ly link that'll take you to a big PDF of a map, and you can click on the virtual atrium and get into the opening ceremony. So Thank you so much for being here. I'll hang out for just a couple minutes if anyone has any questions. But if you want to head to the opening ceremony, please feel free to do that at this time. So it's in the virtual atrium. You can get there by going to the HIR Wellness Facebook page, clicking on the map, follow the bit.ly link, and then click on the virtual atrium on the picture that shows up on that PDF. Thank you so much for being here. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so please enjoy the rest of this event. If you have any questions in the future about the programming, about TCTSY at HIR Wellness, feel free to email Jamie Kellycutt at HIR Wellness Institute, or anyone at the HIR Wellness Institute, and they can let you know when our winter series of TCTSY sessions are starting. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll sign off now. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.